Hello everyone, ProjectPro Joe here. Today we're going to discuss retention in the ProjectPro project module. Let's head over to the project section and bring up project 2006, the generator. On the project card, I can set a default project retention percentage, which will apply to any invoices generated from this project. Similarly, on the subcontract card, I can set a default retention percentage for the subcontractors I work with. This means when I receive an invoice from that subcontractor, 90% of it will be due according to your standard terms. The remaining 10% will be held until the end of the project. When I'm doing progress billing, the default 10% we set earlier will automatically apply, although I can override it if necessary. In this instance, the work retention percentage will be 10% of whatever I invoice to a customer, meaning they will pay 90% upfront. The other 10% will be held for a year or until the project concludes. In progress billing, I also have the option to set a retention percentage for stored materials. If I'm tracking stored materials for AIA billing purposes and wish to withhold retention on them, I can set a material retention percentage as well. Additionally, I have the choice to have the retention calculated at the line level. If I have a billing schedule, I can set different retention percentages on different lines. For instance, the first line might be a deposit, and I'm permitted to set a 0% retention on that initial deposit. So I can set the first line to 0 and the others to 10%, both for work retention and stored material retention. This will apply when I invoice. Now let's go over to the customer ledger. Here, the system separates the retention balance that's due from the balance without retention for the entire amount. I can track and review the different retention invoices and their amounts, alongside amounts without retention. We also have standard payable and receivable reports available, both with and without retention. The key thing to note is that retention is aged out into the future, so it doesn't affect your aging reports. On the project card or project list, I can scroll down and track the current amount of accounts payable and accounts receivable retention against this particular project. When it's time to collect retention on the customer side, I can create a sales invoice of type retention. By selecting it as a retention document, the only options at the line level will be to pull in the outstanding retention amounts for that project. This allows me to see the retention for this specific project and invoice it to the customer. This isn't an invoice for new revenue. It's about moving the retention ledger into the regular customer ledger. And that is the retention feature in ProjectPro. See you on the job site.